Let me know if this sounds like you. I want to be a stay-at-home mom, but we need some extra money. Or I'm already a stay-at-home mom and the prices of everything are so outrageous, we need some extra money. Or I want to pay for a great vacation. Or I want to pay off some bills. Or you know what? Financially, we're good, but I need something for me to help contribute because that just helps me feel good. If any of these are you, you are in the right spot because I'm going to take you on my journey of how I became a full-time working person to having my son to earning an income part-time from home and filling my cup at the same time. Hey, I'm online teacher Allison, and I teach stay-at-home moms how to teach online so they can earn an income from home. And I'm taking you through my entire teach online journey from how I got there into what I'm doing now. So here we go. I graduated from college in 2014 to become a teacher, and I did that. I became a teacher. And I was in the classroom in a couple different roles from 2014 to 2019. We moved in there, and so it wasn't always full-time classroom teacher, but I was in the classroom in different roles for that whole time. And I had my son in 2018, and going back was so hard. I remember he was 4 months old. I just remember crying, holding him in his room and crying because I did not want to leave this little human. I waited 9 months to meet, and then I got 4 months home with him, which I know is a lot more than most people get. And it killed me to go back. And at that point, I was already working part-time as an assistant because, like I said, we had moved and that's what I could get. So come 2019, in the early part of the school year, we got orders to move. So I quit my job and we moved, and I did not want to go back. I didn't have great experiences with administration in the classroom. And then leaving my son behind was just killing me. But we needed the extra cash. We could not financially sustain ourselves with just my husband's income. So I needed to do something. And that is when I started poking around the internet looking. And I asked on this job board of this community I'm a part of. It's actually my home church from when I was in high school. And I kind of said, hey, I need a part-time job. Love it if I could stay home. And that's when someone had said, hey, you can teach online. She was a VIP Kid teacher. And I had heard about VIP Kid before, like 2 years before, but I never did anything because I will be honest, I thought it was a scam. And then on top of that, we lived in California. And so the hours would have been like the middle of the night. And on top of that, we were on base housing. So the internet was not very reliable, especially for something as heavy as teaching online. Like we could watch TV and we could stream, but I wasn't sure how teaching online would go reliably because when we were there, we were constantly like generators were popping and we were out of power for hours and the internet was constantly out and it was just one thing or another. And I didn't feel comfortable. And on top of it feeling a little spammy, I never did it. But knowing someone from my home church that did it and was successful with it, I thought, you know what? I have nothing to lose at this point because if it doesn't work, I'm just going to go find another job. What I was already planning to do anyways. So I got hired on with VIP Kid, and it was an start. If you caught some of my other videos, you've noticed that I kicked myself in my own butt several times by sleeping through classes because they were at like 4 a.m. and I had a kid who still wasn't sleeping through the night. So I was exhausted, but the classes I taught, I loved. So I knew that the classes were there and I knew that the issue was me. So when we got settled in our house after moving, my husband ended up working night shift. So what I did while I was getting started, one of the recommendations is to open up as many classes as possible, open it up at short notice, which meant for VIP Kid, some platforms are a little different. You could get booked up to an hour before start time. So some platforms are different with what they call short notice, but that was for VIP Kid. And so I would open everything up overnight because they were based in China. It was overnight for us. And I logged my husband in on my app and he had it on his phone for a couple months. And when he was home, he would keep an eye on my bookings. And if I had a short notice come in, he would come get me and wake me up so I could teach it. And that ended up working really well because I got some good sleep because I wasn't constantly checking my phone. And I got to meet some kids that ended up being regulars with me, and they booked hundreds plus classes with me. And I saw them for years and years until the regulations changed in China and they couldn't see us anymore. So that was at the end of 2019. It is now January 2023, and I am still teaching online. I am not active on VIP Kid like I once was because the laws changed, and some teachers have bookings, some don't. I have never been consistent with my openings on VIP Kid to see where I would land because I do have another job. My son is in preschool now, so I have a job while he's at school. I tutor kids in math while they're in their public school classroom, so I don't have to work those crazy hours, but I still do work ESL during school holidays. So winter break, spring break, summer break is a big one. That is when I will be very consistent with VIP Kids. So I'm interested to see where it leads and kind of report back to you on that because I am very curious on how they're doing. I really do love their curriculum and I miss it a lot, especially when I teach on other platforms. VIP Kid is just my favorite for the curriculum point of it. It's very beefy and you can fill the time with it, where other ones, I feel like it's not very beefy and it could be better. 3 years later, I am still teaching online, and I am showing you how to teach online and how you can do what I did. Now, is ESL going to be for you? Maybe, maybe not. You don't need to know their language. I know very little Chinese. I can say ni hao, which is hello. And I know bao bao, which means like my baby kind of thing. Like, it's kind of like a term of endearment from their families. But I don't know like any Chinese, and it is fine. They really don't want you to speak their native language. They want to be fully immersed in English, and that is where it is great. So I came from a place of teaching and loving teaching, but not loving administration or not loving all of the extra stuff that comes with it and all of the free work you're expected to put in, the grading, the planning, the meeting, the conferences with parents, the after school events, and the planning, and just, I could go on and on. I just did not like it. It burnt me out. So teaching online allows me to teach and then be done when I'm done. If you want to do this full time, some people do make it work. It is not something I was ever able to make work. It's not something I ever tried because it would require, especially if you're in the United States, depending on, I guess, the platform. But if like we're teaching Chinese students or somewhere over there in Asia, which is where a lot of them are, it's overnight hours. And so that just wasn't feasible because the main point of me leaving my normal 9-to-5 job, my normal classroom job, was so I could be home and present with my son. And if I was up all night every night, I could not do that. So my priorities massively shifted after having my son. And if that is you, you can make online teaching work. You don't need a degree. I have one. You don't need it. Some platforms require it, but it doesn't have to be an education. You might need your TESOL, which is like a certificate you get like from an online class, basically saying, hey, I know how to teach ESL. I know the best practices to teach English to an English language learner. And it's a pretty easy course online. It's pretty cheap. It's not really expensive. And so it is something feasible for you to do if you're just getting started. But if you don't want to do any of that, then there's platforms that don't require any. And I know one of your big questions is, what about the pay? Well, the pay varies really greatly from platform to platform, from ESL to online teaching marketplaces. ESL can pay really meh to pretty decent. And it kind of depends on your experience that you have. So as a brand new online teacher, if you don't have any experience with kids anywhere, you might have to start at one of the meh pays. But I don't want you to tune out yet because your experience raising your kid counts. You have experience talking to them. You have experience teaching them English because they didn't come out of you knowing how to speak English. They came out of you knowing how to cry. So you do have experience with kids. You can use that to your advantage. I used my classroom experience, but I also had like daycare experience from high school. I had Sunday school experience. So if you're a mentor for like Boys and Girls Club, or you do some tutoring on the side, or you babysit, think about all of that and use that to say, hey, yes, I do have experience spending time with kids, teaching kids, because you're teaching them. You might not know it, but you are. My son did not know anything when he came out of me, right? He knew how to breathe and cry and eat and use the bathroom and sleep. And now he is talking up a storm. He's got my attitude. He is learning how to play t-ball. He's learning all of the things his body can do. I'm constantly getting, mommy, look. So, you can teach kids. That's how easy online ESL is. You talk to them, you find their likes and their interests. And yes, you follow the lesson, but you weave those things in as well. And as you get more comfortable teaching online ESL, it gets easier to do. So all that to say, I started as a shell of a person in the real classroom, loving the actual teaching but hating everything else, to finding online ESL and absolutely loving every minute of it, to graduating and teaching in the classroom. And my job now is they do want actual certified teachers. So I don't really recommend it to you because that's not what I advertise. I work with moms. I work with you, the stay-at-home mom who wants to stay home with her son, with her daughter, with her son and daughter, with all of them, who wants to stay home with her littles but wants to earn some money for whatever reason it was. So let me know, what was your reason for wanting to work online? Do you need the extra cash? Do you just want to fill your cup? Do you want to plan a vacation? Let me know. I would love to hear all of your reasonings. Mine was because I wanted to stay home with my son, but I've got student loans. I wanted to stay home with my son, but the cost of living is expensive. I want to stay home with my son, but we're moving and that's expensive. All of those things were my reasoning for teaching online. I would love to hear yours. Let me know, and we'll chat soon.